Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author and illustrator Susan Billings Mitchell. She's an author who does her own research and sometimes her own illustrations. Her interest in writing was jump-started in the 4th grade when she won a deluxe box of crayons in a poem contest, and it took a leap the next year when she won a tin of watercolors for first place in the 5th grade story contest. Later, she was appointed editor-in-chief of the high school newspaper and at one time considered a career in journalism, but chose rather to focus on family, histories, and teaching. As a volunteer storyteller for many years in various school and public libraries, she was led to puppetry, costume storytelling, and eventually to ventriloquism. Her big book is Forever Stalwart and Missouri, A Time of Testing. The original version of Forever Stalwart was too big and heavy to read in bed, so it was turned into a 6-volume series. It is a true account of 3 pioneer families whose lives span the LDS church history, all the way from Kirtland to Manti. It's quite a story. Enjoy this interview.
It's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You bet. So, as we established, you have roots. You've been in Missouri. I'm looking forward to getting into your book because I'm in Kansas City, so I've had a lifetime here in Missouri. So I want to begin, though, before we get into the book and your career, by asking you first and foremost, 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing so much about our lives. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
Oh, wow. Well, I think it really did a lot for writing for authors. A lot of independent authors were created during COVID. People started writing, and I love that you can print on demand. Instead of having to buy a whole garage full of books, you can just have it print on demand. That's a real beneficial. But I think that really made a difference with people getting their books out.
So talk to me a little bit about your journey to get your book out. And to do that, I want to begin with kind of your career and what you've done in your life. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 13-year-olds at Career Day, and one of the kids wants to know what you do for a living, what you've done, what you do now. How do you answer that child?
Awesome. Well, I wish I could show him some pictures, because way back when, I actually started back in the 70s, before computers, believe it or not. Computers are so important to writers. I love them. But I did a book about Noah's Ark, and I illustrated it myself. Big job. But back then, they had this stuff. I don't remember what it's called. It was a big roll of, looked like plastic covered with orange, and you'd take tools and scrape out the picture. You'd cut out, outline it. You had to do it for every color. So I had to do it 4 times. Had to do it for red, for blue, for yellow, and for black. And it was very time consuming. In fact, when my twins, the oldest were in kindergarten when I started this project, doing a little here and a little there, and my daughter came home from school, I had watercolored it, and then so I could reduce it. And then I outlined the picture with a Sharpie, and she came and said, "Oh, Mom, I'm so proud of you. I thought you were going to leave it messy." The outlining really sharpened it. Anyway, so then later, laser came along, so you could do color separations with lasers. And that's incredible. And when I said I wish I could show and tell, I have gone to schools and done this, where I show them how that works, and actually will put down the layers. So there's the blank page, and then I put down the yellow, put down the red, put down the blue, and when I put down the black, it comes alive. But that's how it used to be. They used to have to print several times to get the colors. Now it's incredible what we have with computers and technology. It's a whole new world, and I love it. But it was interesting back in the day.
So talk to me a little bit about what you wanted to be when you were a kid. What was your dream job?
Oh, to be a wife and a mother. I wanted to be a mother and a homemaker. And really, that's been a very fulfilling career. I was reading stories to my little ones, a library book. We had one about Noah, and my little boy is a preschooler, and he said, "Noah's nasty." And what? So I could see what he meant. The pictures, it just had a skin over the shoulder, And I thought, that's not worthy of a prophet. So that's what inspired me to do that book. I kind of made it for him and made my own pictures. I really like to focus on true books. And Noah is a true story, but my book isn't true because the animals talk. For example, Cow says, Mrs. Noah, I have milk for you to drink, and the way this ark is churning, I'll have butter soon, I think. You know, it's kind of like that.
That's wonderful. So let's get into your latest book about Missouri. I'm curious about how this book came about. How did you construct this book?
Well, that's been my life's work. My father asked me, he actually assigned me to write this history. It's the true story of Titus Billings, who was my great-great-grandfather. And he was an incredible pioneer and leader. He's mentioned in so many people's journals and just all over in LDS church history. And my mother had researched for years. She was a real genealogist, but she would take a screenshot of a picture of a page in the book. And she'd always write the reference, thank goodness, but she would just take a photocopy of where his name was. So I took all of her stuff and went back and tried to find the original because I wanted the whole story, not just his name. And that was quite a journey. So my father said he wanted it to be accurate and he wanted it to be interesting. And so I researched for 3 decades, really. Of course, I was raised in a big family, too. But I made what I call a historical account. So I've written down everything and put the reference that proves it. And that was really important to get all that nailed down. I call it the historical account, but it's boring. It's just fact. But when that was done, then I try to turn myself loose to write so it reads like a novel. But when you're using real people and real names, you have to be very, very careful. So at the end of every chapter, there's a historical background, and it will tell where this fact was found and where that fact was found. And if I add anything, it will say, like Mr. Kane is fictitious. I had to have a name for his boss, so I named him Mr. Kane, and I let you know that's fictitious. But I've used real names and real events through the whole thing. It's a history. I didn't want it to just be a story. It's a history.
So what are you ultimately hoping the listener, or the reader, I should say, gets from the book?
To me, it's really inspiring. It's true stories of true people, things they really went through, and they were stalwart. That's why I put that name on it. Stalwart is strong and steadfast and immovable for truth, and they were. I'm talking about Titus Billings and his wife Diantha. Then he has a second wife later, Marianne, who's my grandma, and Isaac Morley and Lucy, and then Edward and Catherine Tuttle. Those 3 families, it kind of weaves their story together. And it's important that it does, because in 1999, I thought the book was ready for press. I was so relieved. But I told my mother, I'm going to have to do a sequel because it doesn't do justice to Marianne, the second wife, who's my grandma. My mother shook her finger at me and said, honey, that's why you're supposed to do it. You take care of your grandma. So I went back and started over. Her dad is a year older than the husband. And so their stories parallel. And then when you get clear down to Manti, where he takes her as a wife, you know who she is and you know her people. And I'm much happier with it than doing a sequel. But I will tell you, the first book was 108 pages. My little auntie said, the trouble with your book is it's too heavy to read in bed. So I've just now broken it into 5 volumes that tell the story, and you're referring to the one, Missouri. It's really the story from Ohio to Manti, to Utah. So it just, it's kind of United States history, it's church history, it's family history. It's just, and it's full of behind-the-scene things, not the real well-known and common. I think my grandpa was a very humble, obedient man. I don't think he really cared about limelight. But, boy, you go dig out his stories, and he was stalwart.
So who's been kind of a hero or an inspirational force for you in your life, behind the writing and everything that you've done in your life?
Who's my hero?
Yeah.
Well, I really respect this Grandpa Titus. I can't wait to meet him on the other side. My dad, I'd have to, you know what, really and truly, to answer your question, what I hope readers get out of this series of books is I hope they come to discover Jesus Christ, because that's what it's all about. That's what this sacrifice was for. These people wanted religious freedom, and they wanted to be able to live the way they thought Jesus wanted them to live. And so I hope that this will bring us to know the Savior and try to be like him. So he's the real hero.
So let me ask you this. If you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational or fascinating, who would you love to meet, have a lunch, and talk to that might help you on your journey in life?
Wow. Well, my brother said, I have done everything except dig up Titus Billings and ask him. And if I could, I would. So I think I'll put him, Titus Billings. He's really the inspiration of this series of books. And I have to tell you, I'm just finishing a coloring book companion for each volume. I'm so excited. So you can, it reviews the whole story in pictures. And I'm in the process of recording the whole thing. So it's a talking book. That has taken me ages, but I got it submitted and it just got approved. And so if a person wants to, they can listen to it while they color.
That's wonderful. So let me ask you this. What is the motivation for you to not only do this book series, but to do it at a high level, the coloring books, everything you're doing? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to do this work and to be a storyteller for people?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I think true stories inspire us and empower us, and I want to hand these down to my posterity. I think we need to know what real people really did.
Yeah, for sure.
So and I can tell you, too, my dad asked me to write Grandpa Billings' biography, but my mother also asked me to edit the other histories. There are many, many more wonderful ancestors who have precious stories, and I can't spend 30 years researching for all of them, and I can't do, a whole book on them. But what I'm starting to do is I go through, so Mom has all these histories. They're single-spaced, huge Book of Remembrance pages, and people don't read them. The young people, they just don't have time. So I'm going through and just mining out the treasures, and I find a little experience, and I think, oh, yes, this is inspiring. And so that I'm trying to put that now in books so that I can share those true stories. And so when I get on the other side, I don't want my other ancestors to feel neglected. So that's really, and that is very motivational to me. I love true stories. I love inspiring stories. And yeah, I'm passionate about it. My motto is hearts turn when history talks. The word story is in history. It's his story. And I just think we need to pass those on.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you, and you walk into a room, and you click play on a film projector, and a 60-second highlight reel of your life comes up on a screen. Would that young version of you believe that your life turned out this way?
Oh, yeah. I'm very happy with my life. I've had a good life. Lots of challenges, but that's what life's all about, because it's the challenges that refine us and make us Christ-like. But I've had a good life, and I have wonderful ancestors. I have beautiful posterity. We had 9 children, have 37 grandchildren, and right now 31 great-grandchildren, but 2 in the oven. So that's my life. That's my joy, and I really live to share these true stories with them. My little grandma wrote her history. She typed with 2 fingers. I went to her house as a married woman when she was working on it. Writing was not her thing, but she wanted to share her history. And it's just a very short history, but I read that and I'm inspired. She had a daughter who got rheumatic fever and it damaged her heart. That was my mother. She had a son who got hit in the back of the head with a big wooden swing when he was 2 years old, and it damaged he had to have brain surgery. And back then, that's really a big deal. And so I read her story, and it empowers me. If my little grandma could do that, surely I can do this. Two of our children had open heart surgeries twice each. One of our daughters got lupus, and she's had 3 kidney transplants. And so it's helpful to know, hey, Grandma did it. She was stalwart. I can do it too. I think there's value in that.
Absolutely. So let me ask you this. In that highlight reel that showed up on the wall of your life, what's the thing that you're the happiest or the proudest about?
Probably my children, my family. And I'm very happy to be, I have quite a few books. I have 2 picture books. I'm happy to, I think my goal, I didn't set out to be an author, but I love to share stories. I was a volunteer storyteller in the public libraries and in school libraries in many states that we've lived in. Out there in Kansas a lot. And, Missouri, we're on the Missouri side. But I really enjoyed that. I love puppets. I've done a lot of puppets. I had a party time puppet business. We would do little puppet shows for birthdays. We'd go take this little theater. I would write original scripts, and it was just fun. My kids, all in their matching clown shirts, would go help me, and it just turned into things. I became a ventriloquist. My sister was, and she kind of trained me a bit, and then I took a course. So just telling stories, I guess. My passion is sharing stories, and there's many ways to do it. You can dress up and go be a storyteller. You can write a book. You can do it ventriloquism. I've just had a lot of fun with that. It's colored my life.
That's wonderful. So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, everyone that gets your books, everyone that knows you in different capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I am the pencil. I don't think I run the show. I pray every day what the Lord wants me to do, and He helps. And I know there are some true stories He wants shared. I feel like I'm just His instrument. I just try to share the true stories, and I feel honored to be an instrument, and I'm so thankful. I can tell you about the Forever Stalwart series. I had help writing that. It's a true story. I was trying so hard to be meticulously accurate, and on the very last chapter, so I was trying to finish this book. It's gone on and on and on, and I just, my little grandma, the second wife, her children are a generation younger. So I had to update everything. You can't do a lot of detail about, everybody's children, but you have to acknowledge them. And I thought, this is overwhelming. It's a never-ending story. How am I going to do this? I went to bed really overwhelmed. I got up the next morning, prayed, turned on my computer, and there was a paragraph that popped out. Now, I'd done a lot of research. All these facts were there, but it was pulled together in one paragraph that told about Mary Ann and her family, and it was adequate. It caught it up to date. It's a short chapter, and it was done, and I had help writing that. I think Mary Ann wrote that chapter. I still get tears in my eyes when I read it, because to me it's just such a beautiful ending. I'll tell you something else about that series, if you'd like. I didn't realize this until recently, but the book starts out with Titus Billings' first wife, Diantha. She's on a wagon moving from beautiful Massachusetts to the Ohio Reserve, and she has a dulcimer on her lap, and it's getting dusty, and she's not happy about moving, but that's how it begins. The book ends with the second wife, Mary Ann. She's on a wagon. Her son is driving it. He is taking her oldest daughter is dying, and she's going to go in and help raise those children, but she has the dulcimer on her lap. And I thought to myself, just the other night, I thought, whoa, that's cool. Those are bookends. So I felt like I finally did take care of my little grandma.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So if anybody out there wants to get a copy of Forever Stalwart, the series, or any of your previous works, reach out. Any of the good business, where do they go?
I hope they'll come to my website. It's stalwartstories.com. Stalwart is a hard word to type. I thought, jeepers, why did I use that? But that's what it's all about. So STALWARTSTORIES.com. And I have links there to Amazon. The books are on Amazon. They can just go to Amazon. But I'm finding when I go to Amazon, good grief, they've got so much stuff spread out, I have to search for my books. But if you go to my website, you can just click on the one you want, and it will take you right to it. And I've just today actually linked some of the coloring books that way too. So go to Amazon or go to my website. I am in the process, and it's not an announcement, but it's a hopeful. I want to get the big coloring book as a coil, but KDP Amazon doesn't do coil, so I'm right now negotiating because I think a spiral, it'd be easier to color. You can lay the pictures flat. The combined coloring book is 120 pages. So I made a coloring book about 24 pages for each volume. But I was flabbergasted how expensive they are, and I think it's because of the covers. Because the pictures inside are black and white. You color them yourself. I thought, what? But when I did a combined one, and it just has the one cover instead of 5 covers, and I can sell it for a lot less. In fact, I'm working it. If you bought all 5 coloring books, $9.99 is what Amazon put them. That's $50. But I'm trying to get this. Well, I have the combined one now, and I'm selling it for $14.95. That's better than half. And I think it'll be nicer because it's going to have the whole story right there. Now, the spiral one, I don't know the price for it yet. I'm just working on it. I want to keep it down as much as I can. But I guess what I'm saying is somebody wants a coloring book. It's much more economical if you buy the one instead of get the little ones that all have different expensive covers on them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And I'll make sure to put all of those links in the show notes. It was wonderful to meet you, Susan. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time, and best of luck with the series.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.